Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for attending. I appreciate that. Let me get down your names so I can give you credit. Before I begin, are there any questions or issues you guys have?
No,
Okay, thank you. Anaya, I don't mean to embarrass you, hon, but could I get your last name, either like typed or spoken?
session.
I'm sorry, hon.
It's session.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share the page with the test. Now, with your test, okay, I added about 4 or 5 questions to my last semester's test, and I added them at the end on yours instead of putting them within where they would fit, chronologically and thematically. And I did that because I was having such a hard time. There's not a simple way, at least that's very apparent, for an instructor to interplace a question between questions 18 and 19 without messing everything up. And then you have two number 19s, and you have to change the number on two different places on each subsequent number. It's just a pain. And so instead, I just put them at the end. Okay, so you don't have an exact match with your study guide. So keep that in mind. Okay. And this one is where I have interjected them between numbers. So some of the numbers on the test that you see are going to be a little different. So please, I mean, that's all the more reason why don't just think of, okay, number three is C. Think of the answers. Think of the answers, and if you're learning, then I'm okay with helping you out. Okay? So the first one, right? According to 19th century British and European criteria, what would have impressed the the Euro colonizers when they saw the Native Americans? Okay, number one, a procedural method for avoiding bloodshed. That's politics and diplomacy. That's not on necessarily on their list. Okay, knowledge and extraction of sources and hunter gathering. They were not impressed with hunter gathering regardless. Okay. You look at C, manipulation of the environment by a quote complex society of multiple classes and engagement in the arts and sciences. Absolutely. That's the one that you're looking for. Their polytheism and shamanism and their religion did not impress the Europeans, unfortunately. Number two, Charles C. Mann, his book on 1491, he just stated that, as you see on C, considering the fact that the Americas were isolated by two oceans, they chronologically met European demands for civilized status pretty darn well. Okay. And then you move on to three. The Olmec have been depicted as the mother culture, absolutely, and I have that written down, and I spoke about that. Um, the Maya established a well-known calendar, great command over astronomy and mathematics. Absolutely. The Aztec had schools, hospitals, drawbridges, and great pyramids. Yes. Toltec Toyon, that was quite the city, evidently, like in the 600s AD, was quite backward by European standards. No, that's the one that does not fit. See, what I've been told, you guys, is that you want to reinforce to the students what they've learned. That's why a lot of my questions, I'll say all of the following except, or which one is false. When you see three or so of them that are correct, you don't choose those, right? You choose the one that's wrong, but it supposedly confirms to you what you've learned about what is true about that topic. So that's kind of the method behind my madness, why I ask you for the wrong answer so often. All right. The Maya and Aztec demonstrated great knowledge in astronomy and architecture. They developed religion, literature, folklore. Absolutely. Okay. Evidence of farming and irrigation, stratified cities with public facilities, astronomical expertise. Where chronologically do you find that first? And by the way, this might change because they have a tribe known as the Adena along the Mississippi River that they keep dating their stuff back to further and further chronologically on the calendar, and they even dabbled in metallurgy. So that might change the narrative, but still, up to this point, it is known that the Southwest of present-day New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, and Utah, that area in the Southwest was the place of the famous Hohokam, the Snake Natives, the who were after the Hohokam. At any rate, there were three major confederations, and they go to before Christ, and they had cities. That's why the Spanish generically called them pueblo, city natives. Okay, which of the following is false regarding the Spanish sources written in the 1500s? Las Casas clearly sympathized with the Native Americans, often calling them meek sheep. Absolutely. Some people contend that he exaggerated and he took things out of context. However, Castillo, his quote, true account, arguably realistic assessment of both Spanish and native qualities and decisions and personalities, has been criticized by some as justification of conquest because he was an ex-conquistador. That is true as well. Sahgun's sympathy for the Aztec not only brought about the translation of the codices, but also formed the foundation of his insistence that they continue their religious practices. No, that's the one that does not fit. Remember, Sahgun was the one that blamed their practices on the devil and said they must be converted. Even a defender of the Aztec like Sahgun wanted them converted. The Black Legend asserts that Christopher Columbus, right, that he supposedly had his back against the wall and that he felt forced, coerced, and hardened into engaging in immoral practices because of this system. They want you to hate the economic system more than you despise any particular conquistador. So you look at option A, and that's the one that fits. Okay. I don't want to go through all of them because that doesn't seem congruent with college. But let's do number 8 as well. The old world context, particularly the quote rat race in the Orient and Asia or the East, was tied to the conquista in what way? The Renaissance encouraged pursuit of knowledge in new areas and personal fame. Absolutely. It also encouraged map making and cosmopolitanism, trying to be a citizen of the world, travel and learn the earth. The barbaric quasi almost capitalist system opening up, absolutely, right? If you were willing to risk your fame, fortune, and life, the Spanish monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, would reward you with the doggo status and all that that entailed. Many conquistadors were younger sons of Spanish hidalgos, having witnessed their fathers fight the Moors and become enriched from it. Absolutely. So you're looking at that one, and that one seems to be all the above. All right. Number 10. Historians looking for a Spanish special path toward a hierarchical, inequitable, physically brutal, and exploitative, and religiously intolerant type of colonization of the Americas, according to the Black Legend. Point to the fact that Rome conquered and held Spain or Hispania, initiating a legacy of religious intolerance and autocratic rule, arguably so. Point to the Muslim Umayyad Caliphate conquering much of Spain in 711 AD, all the way till 1492 for nearly 800 years. And they had many holy wars to conquer Spain back. Point to the fact that only Spain consisted of a confederation of monarchies without any tradition in local autonomy or democratic participation. That one's almost a trick question. It seems as if it's all the above, but C is not true. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna have to give you guys number 10 because I didn't ask unless I could see it elsewhere. Let me put in the margins. Yeah, I don't have anything asking for the wrong answer. So sometimes I mess up. I messed up on number 10. All right. And so it doesn't matter what you put in there, but C is the one that doesn't fit, and therefore it would not be all the above. Um, so yeah, you could add one to your 10-point curve for number 10. That's unfortunate. All right. Let's see here. Ironies of the Conquest, you should get that right out of the handout on the Spanish colonizer. The Reconquista, um, look at C, was depicted subjectively as almost certainly of relevance due to the fact that the process of fighting a church-sanctioned holy war against the enemy uh, could be enforced and force people into servitude when defeated in war. Yet it perhaps a bit exaggerated on account of the length and duration of the Reconquista. That's the one that I lean toward, was C. Okay. Um, yes, it did make its mark on Spanish colonization, but it's not that cut and dry. It's not that cut and dry. You had instances of Christian princes, Catholic princes fighting against other Catholic princes with allies that were Muslim. It was not always a holy war for 700 plus years. All right. Las Casas, you should know that one. Castillo, when he said, I'm going to write the true history of the conquest, simply vilified the Aztec and made heroes of the Spanish without any nuance or complexity. No, no, he showed great complexity in his book, in my humble opinion, enough to make that one false. All right. Like I said, I don't want to do all of them. Number 18. What was used as supportive data concerning Mexican Americans' heritage being as indigenous as it is European, being as Native American as it is European? So this is the one that's called mestizaje. The manner by which the Catholic clergy accommodated Aztec practices and beliefs to have them Catholic, yes. Folklore, literature, biological miscegenation or interethnic union, physical union. So then it would be all the above. Okay. Number 20, historiography of Junipero Serra and the famous 21 Missions of California tends to oscillate between praise of his benevolent paternalism, the hagiographies that try to make a saint of him, and criticism of cultural genocide, which is after the civil rights movement, conflict history. So that one is true. Okay. 21 is in the Spanish missions were a mixed bag. All right. When Jesus came, the Corn Mothers went away was under Las Casas, number 1 of the Black Legend. 23, Francisco de Coronado and Cabrillo are historically tied to Spanish colonial claims to the North American Far West. That is true. Both approximately 1540, first claimed as a colonizer, claimed the Far West long before England, France, and the Netherlands did so, and Russia. Let's see here. Oh, on this version, I don't have the end of 26. That's strange. It didn't save. Okay, what I need you to remember for 26, okay? Like I said, it won't be 26 for yours. It'll likely be like number 36 after the 35 original questions. It'll be one of the 5 added on at the end. What I need you to remember is for one, right? He was caught between loyalty to the Spanish and to the Inca. His father was a Spanish conquistador. His mother was an Incan princess. Remember, he talked about natural reason being attainable to all human beings, and he talked about the virtue of Incan society. Okay. Nevertheless, he was proud of the fact that the Spaniards brought Catholic Christianity to the Inca, and he did not apologize for that. Okay. And remember, he also, the story of Pedro Serrano, he was also an adherent of environmental determinism, So he said La Selva, the jungle, right, makes animals of us all. So we need European-like cities to become civilized. Okay. And yeah, I'll have to see to that. That's strange that that didn't save. Okay. It's like this wasn't my latest. I'm hoping it's not my latest one. Otherwise, I'll just have to rewrite them. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, same thing. She's added on here. What I want you to remember about her is that she contributed to the Spanish literary movement of um, called the Baroque movement. And she also was an early feminist, and she fought for the rights of women to be educated. All right. And she's living proof of a growing symbiotic relationship between the Native Americas, because she was in Mexico. She was a Criolla, uh, um, a Spaniard, but born in the Americas. Court history of New England contends that the colonial settlers were progressive on account of their literacy and democratic institutions. That is true. That is true. Okay. Um, see here. The Catholic Church, number 33, could be depicted as institutionally strong in Latin America due to, but not limited to, the following reasons. The Patronato gave her intimacy with the crown. She was granted much land, and she, in many places, was nearly the sole facilitator of education and of credit or loans. That is all true. Okay. Then I ask, Whig history of England is supported by all except which of the following? The decentralized and participatory nature of Anglo-Saxon rule, as with the Wittens, that is true. See, the English, what they try to contend is that they had a special uh, legacy of hating tyranny and of having decentralized democratic government. Now, they're cherry picking in their facts, okay? They had tyrants just like anybody else over England, but they conveniently avoid mention of those tyrants. And they go straight to the instances that support that thesis, that they are liberty-loving people. So A is true. The Magna Carta of 1215, Article 40 of such, declared political equality for all Englishmen. That is true. The struggles of Holy Roman emperors to maintain control over the Saxons in Germany, yes, that's true. The Glorious Revolution that made Parliament superior to the crown, that was pretty big. That is true in 1688. Claims and actions of King Charles I? No, he was seen as a tyrant who claimed divine right to rule. So Charles I is the one that doesn't fit. Okay. Number 35, the instructor depicted colonial Virginia as much more equitable, democratic, and progressive than the colonies of the Spanish. No way. Remember, I showed for Capitalism for Better and for Worse how the English, I think this is one of them that I should have given you to read, how the English, the gentry class, Gentry, the gentry class were well-to-do noblemen, aristocrats from Sussex and Wessex and England, who came and got the lion's share of land, who got the lion's share of political positions, and who got to dictate culture in the South, particularly in Virginia. And it was very, very much an oligarchy ruled by the few at the expense of the many. And so 35 is not true. Okay. Which of the following is false regarding the alleged autocratic structure of post 1502 Spanish Americas? Viceroys were to represent the majesty and power of the crown, and they possessed administrative power, including that of life and death. Yes. Locally, the hated corregidores had veto power over the city councils, and they were often peninsulares from Spain, Spaniards from Spain, to collect royal taxes and to do the public works that the natives were forced to engage in, known as the repartimiento. Yes. And then you look at D, the Crown and the Council of Indies ruled from afar, and handpicked judges of the Audiencia had much power over local and regional cases. Absolutely. The one that does not fit is C. No system of accountability existed. Remember the Visitor General. The Visitor General came, put a Spanish official under house arrest, gave opportunities for anyone in the neighborhood to bring forth any accusations of misrule against that Spanish official. And if the judges were to find him guilty, he was to be removed from office, even to the point of being arrested and sent back to Spain. So they did have a system of accountability. Okay. 37. What about the thesis in the English colonies that slavery was just an economic decision? Which one doesn't fit? Diminishing numbers and diminishing reliability of white indentured servants? Absolutely. That's central to their theme. The biological success of African Americans against New World pathogens? Yes. Unfortunately, that was true, and it had an unfortunate result. Conclusion that the African people were of hardy constitution and could endure slavery better than other people could. Diplomacy with Native American tribes is not mentioned. I never mentioned that. That's the one that doesn't fit. Rise in the supply and drop in the price of African slaves in the Caribbean. That is true. Rise and fall of multiple African kingdoms, which increase the number of slaves brought from the Ivory Coast. That is true as well. The Mali fell, the Ashanti rose. The Yoruba and the Igbo fell, and the Dahomey rose. And they were able to capture one another as one power was growing and the other power diminishing, and get more and more slaves to the Caribbean. All right. 38, the English. Which one's false? Medieval chroniclers' racist depictions of sub-Saharan Africans were read and even translated by some, like John Prory in Virginia. Yes. B, as seen with Hugh Davis, miscegenation was immediately taboo under the English. Absolutely. He slept with a black woman and he was publicly whipped. She and he were publicly whipped, and he was arrested and fined for it. With Antonio Johnson or Anthony Johnson and John Punch, they made decisions on the basis of their skin color against them. That is true. And a decision to subjugate African Americans was made in having status follow the father by way of the slave codes. And that is true as well. Um, so, yeah, all of them are true. None, all of the above are true for 38. Okay. Um, And 39 and 40, which the following is false. English embrace of African slavery was depicted as emanating from both greed and racism. Absolutely. The Puritans were depicted as progressively respectful of Native Americans. No way. The Puritans were depicted as intolerant, elitist, and potentially brutal. That is true as well. Okay. So the one that doesn't fit is B. And 40, the English are stated to have made the institution of slavery deliberately difficult to escape by way of their slave codes. That is true as well. All right. I don't know why I would be nervous by this time with you guys. You guys are a great class, but I just kind of flew through this. Are there any questions? Right. I feel as if I went over well over half of them. Like I said, I didn't want to go through every single one because that just doesn't seem collegiate to me. Um, but I feel I especially if you'll notice, I went over all of them that dealt with the English because I'm not sure what I did or did not cover regarding the English. And that's all the more reason why by Thursday night, I plan to have this up and posted so you can go back to it and listen to it. All right. As it's recording right now for your help. So this is due Thursday night, just in a couple days, and that's why I did my video today. I want to give you a couple days to go over it with me and to go over it yourself and have a couple days left to put in your deliberate, well thought out answers and submit them. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe I give you two chances and it takes your higher score. All right. Does anybody have any comments or questions? All right, you guys can do this. And you'll notice with a lot of my questions, like I said, a lot of them you're looking for the false answer. So confirm what you have learned with the ones that the other options, but make sure you're choosing the wrong answer and all those that say except, but, or false. Okay. And I hope you're learning something. And note when it's my personal take on something, usually I'm in the middle of the road. I'm not hardcore. I'm certainly not hardcore court history defending the Spanish, but I'm not just consistently a conflict historian, just making villains of the Spanish and it being that black and white. Okay. And with the English, I don't cut them too much slack. I feel like the English Whig history that tries to differentiate themselves as being much more liberty loving than the Spanish were as a colonizer has a lot of holes in it, has a lot of omitted data from it. All right. So that was very quick, but I'm done, you guys, if that's okay. Let's see here. Let's do one more. What the heck? How about 15? Famous narrative of Tenochtitlan's fall include all the following but or except a portrayal of Aztec fatalism, especially regarding the alleged prophecy about Quetzalcoatl. That is true. A vilification of the Spanish as ungrateful, deceitful, and masterful in divide and conquer tactics. That is also true. Great man history and drama between Cortez and Moctezuma II. That is true. Systematic genocide attempts by Spain by way of deliberately spreading smallpox. No, not that far. One of the men of Pedro de Narvaez, who came to replace Cortez, but fought Cortez and lost. So Cortez got to stay in Mexico and stay in control. One of his men reportedly had smallpox. And it started with that one gentleman. And it took out, I can't remember the proportion, but it was gigantic amongst the Aztec in the midst of, before, and during their blockade around the city of Tenochtitlan. All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Just like less than 30 minutes, I know. That was very quick, but I hope this is helpful. And especially, like I said, as I post it, I hope it's helpful for you, and I hope you kick this test butt. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, Anaya.
Are you going to post this lecture?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. I know I spoke rather quickly. I don't know if it's I just get excited. I love this stuff. Spanish colonization is just so interesting to me. I just get excited and I start talking too quickly. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go, and I will post this, okay, to help you out. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Hang in there. Yes, Daisy, I will. I'll post it tonight. The only variable outside my control is how long it takes to finish the recording. Usually it just takes about an hour after we're finished. But as soon as it's done recording, I can post it. I'll be happy to. Okay. You're very welcome, Daisy. Thank you. All right. Make sure I have your name down, Daisy. All right. You're very welcome. All right. So you guys have a great night. You guys do well. I hope you do well on this test. Remember that it's that my tests are not weighted, so they're not any more, heavy than your average argumentative assignment. Everything is 50 points. Yeah, so Madeline, everything is 50 points, and the tests are no exception. All right. No problem. No problem. So yeah, you're gonna have it at least anywhere from 15 to like 20, 21 assignments, all worth 50 points. And then you just have four tests that are worth 50 points. So you could do well. Oh, you have Anaya, you have until Thursday night at midnight. Okay. I have it formally. Remember, I do 4 days, then 3 days, then 4 days, then 3 days. That's just the way that it worked out, all the assignments and the test, as far as how many days we have in the semester, not counting the weekends, because I didn't want to put you to work on the weekends. So yeah, it just works out that way so that this test is due Thursday night at midnight. Oh no, hon, you're not given an hour. There should be no time limit. I've never put time limits on it. I'm not a believer in that at all. So I mean, I would imagine you spend no problem, Anaya. You spend a certain amount of time and it may go off and you may get off of it. So don't take too long, but there is no formal time requirement. I would never do that. I want you to take your sweet time. Okay? And it's due this Thursday, just in a couple days at midnight, from Thursday to Friday. All right. So you guys do well. I wish you well. And if you don't do as well as you plan, please don't be discouraged, okay? You have a lot more assignments than you do tests. And I have a feeling you're doing well on your assignments, which I will figure out, by the way, I will find out starting tomorrow. Or actually, not tomorrow, Thursday. Thursday, I'm finally off and I can begin grading. So thank you guys, okay? Good luck. And I mean that.